Aloha, and welcome to Cooper's Destiny, Book 2, Ryder, by Mike Travis, Ph.D. Copyright 2018, edition version 2.0. Dedication. I am dedicating this book to all the people who fight every day to protect our home planet Earth. The scenario I created in this book is one guess at what might happen in our future. I think someday we will reach other planets, but for now, this is a fantasy, and Earth is the only world we know, so we must care for it in everything we do. Acknowledgements. I want to thank my family for all their support through this process, especially Barb, Terry, and Susie Travis, who spent countless hours editing and giving me constructive feedback to help me make this book better. I also want to thank Kalia for her wonderful edits and suggestions that helped me write a better story and give the characters more depth. Recently, I was able to see my close friend Evan Schultz in person, and it was like we've never been apart. Evan once again designed a beautiful cover for me and found a way to bring my story to life in pictures. Thank you, Evan. Prologue. The father stared at the split screen with the images of the two pirates. So, we have reached an accord, the old pirate said. Aye, the other pirates on the screen replied. Good, thank God. You both are making the right decision. As soon as you attack, our spies will help you in every way possible. When you have control of the moon base and the space station, I will send representatives to meet with you. They will pick up our spies, and then those bases will be yours to run from now until the end of time, the father said. Aye, both pirates said again at the same time. If there are no further questions about our plan, we will talk again soon. May the Lord be with you. And with you, said one of the pirates. The screen went black, and the father looked up from his screen. Well, Talbot, I believe they will do as we say. Yes, my father, it is with God's will that we will succeed, Talbot said as he removed the handheld device they were watching and put it away. And what of our other mission, to get my old friend Ryder? The father asked. All the pieces are in motion. It is as you requested. Thank you, Talbot. May the light of the sun always shine bright upon you. To you as well, my father, Talbot said as he left the room. Somewhere in space, the two pirates were in a video conference again without the father. Blimey! Do you really think we can trust this guy, the father? Said one pirate to the other. Of course not, said the other pirate. But he will give us the means to take over the bases, and then we will see. Aye! He may try to hornswoggle us after, but we will be ready. Aye, and may the winds always be at your back. To you as well. And both screens went black. Chapter 1, April 12th, 2201, in space, just outside the moon. As the shuttle left Armstrong Moon Base, Major Trevor Ryder couldn't help but think about his grandson Cooper. He hoped that Cooper would be safe on his journey to the USS Gemini, a spaceport located at the L2 Lagrange point, more than 1 million miles from Earth and just outside the orbit of the moon. The Gemini was a busy but relatively safe spaceport. However, recent terrorist events gave Ryder a reason to pause and wonder if any place in the universe was safe anymore. Right before they parted ways, Ryder gave Cooper a special card so that he could contact him in an emergency. It gave him little comfort, though, because if the terrorists attacked, there might not be a way for Ryder to get there fast enough to save Cooper. The pilot was asking Ryder something, and he snapped back to reality. Ryder, we are approaching the battleship now. Thanks, Tracker, Ryder said as he looked up through the forward viewpoint to see the battleship cruiser. USS Pathfinder was visible on the side of this ship as they approached. The Pathfinder was one of the older Phoenix-class models of battlecruisers. While it was a formidable ship that could travel both in space and into a planet's atmosphere, it looked more like a patchwork quilt than a ship ready to take into war. There were clear indications up and down the hull of replacement parts that didn't have the same colorization as the rest of the shiny silver exterior. Since this was an urgent, covert mission, Ryder was forced to take whatever ship was available at the moment. Not much to her, Tracker. Is this the best you could find? Ryder commented with obvious disappointment in his voice. Ryder, come on. You know I wouldn't let you down. Yes, the Pathfinder is an older model, but looks can be deceiving. Bolt's equipped it with some special weapons that won't be expected by the enemy. And, I am always better at flying the older models. The newer ones give away too much control to the AI, Tracker said with a smile on his face beaming with pride. Ryder chuckled, knowing full well that Captain Kanji Thomas, aka Tracker, would never let him down. Tracker was a short, muscular man with a great sense of humor who was proud of his Navajo background. Tracker's long black hair was tied in a ponytail with a turquoise hair clip. He also had a beaded bracelet around his right wrist, which he said was passed down for generations, dating back to the days when the Navajo roamed the southwestern United States on horses. Like Ryder, he didn't want to be promoted any higher and was happy piloting missions around the planets. Ryder gave him his current name Tracker after an almost impossible mission on Mars more than a decade ago. On that mission, Ryder fought back a rebellion group hell-bent on destroying the dome town of Alexandria. The leader of the rebellion escaped in a small camouflaged rover, weaving in and out of craters. Somehow, Tracker found the leader in the vast wasteland and disabled the vehicle in time for Ryder to reach the leader before he could set off a detonator that would destroy the dome town. It was on that day Ryder nicknamed him Tracker for his ability to find anyone, anywhere. Tracker accepted the name with honor and the promotion to captain that came with the medal. Both of them tried to avoid the fame from that event. However, to this day, when Ryder's name comes up in conversations, it always includes how he single-handedly saved everyone on Mars. While this wasn't exactly true, stories just spin out of control, especially across the vast solar system. Tracker was a big fan of the older spaceships. When he referred to the AI, he was talking about artificial intelligence that was built into the newer models. While all spaceships had computers for helping the pilot ensure the course was maintained, the newer ships were actually controlled by the AI, leaving the pilot with not much to do. Tracker believed that the AI was stupid, and a human pilot which was much more efficient and could handle everything better, especially in battle. There was something to be said for this logic, but Ryder felt that Tracker was a little too biased in his beliefs, and that meant that they were always taking missions in the older battleship models. As Tracker deftly maneuvered the small shuttle and docked with the Pathfinder, Ryder took one last deep breath as he prepared to meet his soldiers he would take on this mission. Ready? Tracker asked, unhooking his seat belt and turning off the control systems for the small shuttle. Are we ever ready for any of these missions, Tracker? Ryder said rhetorically as he unbuckled his seatbelt as well and grabbed his bag. As they glided through the airlock and into the main compartment of the battlecruiser, Ryder heard the shout of "Officer on board!" from one of the soldiers. He moved slowly past the soldiers, floating at attention around the room, and stopped at the table in the front. Tracker glided past him and headed to the bridge to get ready for the trip. "At ease, soldiers," Ryder said with authority. "Please take a seat around the table and we will get started," he continued, gesturing to the table. As the soldiers moved into place, Ryder took a moment to examine each one. He read through their bios and knew that they were trained soldiers who would fight valiantly for the cause. He handpicked this team and examined all their pasts to ensure none of them would betray him when the time came to attack the Earth-only agents, EOA. This was a tricky situation because they were headed into the heart of an organization, and if there was any chance that a soldier was sympathetic to the cause of ending space travel and returning all humans to Earth, Ryder made sure that soldier was not on the team. "Well, soldiers, thank you again for joining me on another mission. As you probably realized, this is not a training mission, as your orders indicated. This mission will put us in the heart of the battle." He noticed the nods from the soldiers. All of them were veterans of many fights, so this was nothing new. Inserting a small drive into a table, a presentation appeared on the wall in front of the soldiers. The first image showed a cargo ship with the side blown out. "Less than 2 days ago," Ryder started, "a bomb exploded in one of the supply ships bound for the USS Mayflower. This occurred while it was at Armstrong Moon Base, and the 2 security personnel were killed and 3 more injured. The perpetrators were identified, and we know they used a small remote detonator to set off the C4 charge. After the detonation, the terrorists escaped in a small craft bound for Earth. He presented short video clips of a man going in and out of the supply ship, followed by an explosion that knocked over soldiers and left the supply ship in ruins. Then another video showed a small craft leaving the port with a timestamp indicating it occurred less than 30 hours ago. The presentation ended with a man's ID picture. This is Adam Ryan. He is currently a resident of New Atlanta. He doesn't have a history of working with terrorists, but we now have evidence to show that he is a member of the EOA. Flipping to another video, it showed a group of people holding their hands up in the sign of a circle with their other hand wrapped around it. As you know, the EOA is a band of religious terrorists with the sole purpose of forcing all humans to remain on Earth. They believe that God only gave us the Earth as our home, and we should not seek out other worlds. Here are some more pictures of the damage and the killing they have done over the years. As he scrolled through the images, he could see the soldiers talking quietly among themselves. He knew he had chosen the team wisely, even handpicking a few soldiers who were personally affected by the EOA in the past. Ryder caught Corporal Jewell's eyes. Jewell was part of a family ship that was bringing in supplies from the asteroid belt. It was attacked by a ship working in coordination with the EOA. They boarded the ship, killing all of the crew and her entire family. Jewell was only 13 at the time, but she was smart enough to know what was going down and hid behind a thin wall between the bridge and the cargo area. She waited in the wall for 3 days before emerging to find everyone dead and the ship stripped. Luckily, the attackers did not remove the life support. Jewell was able to jerry-rig the ship and ship's propulsion to cover the 2 weeks of travel necessary to make it back to the moon. Without a family left, Ryder helped her to see that the military might be a way to give her the support she needed and a chance to fight back. And now Corporal Jewell was one of his most loyal soldiers in the fight against the EOA. As Ryder finished with the videos and pictures of the destruction, the room went silent. He flipped to a computer-generated trail overlaid on a map of the Earth showing the course and destination of Ryan's ship. Using the information from the UGMSC satellites, we have tracked Ryan's ship to Atlanta. UGMSC was an acronym that stood for the United Government Military Space Commission, and it was the military force that provided security for the whole solar system. As Ryder finished this sentence, he stopped as he felt the ship vibrate. Tracker was finished with the flight checks and started the engines. The intercom came to life. "Major, this is Tracker. The ship is ready to go. Please ask all of the team to ensure their seats are locked into place and they are strapped in. Ready to go. On your command, I will get us headed to Earth. Soldiers, please make sure you are locked in and ready. I need to stow my gear, but let's meet back here after the acceleration and we will continue the briefing. Dismissed." With that command, the soldiers got to their feet, grabbing any of their gear that still needed to be stowed. Ryder grabbed his bag from below the table. He used the handholds on the ceiling to move himself down the hallway toward the bridge. As he reached the end of the hallway, he found the door to his quarters. It was the same room he used before on previous missions, and he wasn't happy about it. The older class of battleships was so basic in their design. There was a sink and a small toilet in the corner, and the shower was so small he couldn't even bend over in it. He stowed his gear and grabbed a warm towel from the dispenser to wipe off his face. He was still tired from the night he spent interrogating all of the workers at the Armstrong moon base just 2 days ago. He looked in the mirror and as he floated above the sink area. "I might be getting too old for this," he thought. He swiveled around and put the towel into the cleaning dispenser and headed out the door and toward the bridge. When he arrived, Tracker glanced back for just a second. "Welcome aboard the bridge, Ryder," Tracker said, focusing again on the instruments in front of him. "Status update, Tracker," Ryder said, all business now. "Sir, I have turned the ship around and we are pointed in the direction of Earth. We are looking at an 18-hour flight plan that will include 3 orbits around the planet to bring us in properly to Atlanta. On your command, we can begin the flight." Ryder was now in his command seat, just behind and to the right of Tracker. He strapped himself in and clicked the intercom button on the armrest. "Attention crew," he spoke with professionalism and the authority of someone who commanded soldiers often. You should be strapped in and ready. Acceleration will begin in 10 seconds. As Ryder looked out the forward viewpoint, his thoughts should be on the mission, but they were instead on his grandson Cooper. By this point, he might be on Gemini already, Ryder thought. At least he will be under the protective command of my old friend Bolts. He wondered again if he was getting too old for these missions. He lost time with his daughter, and now she wasn't alive anymore. He missed all of Cooper growing up, but now he could recapture the time with his grandson, if only they weren't always working. Maybe there will be a time after this mission, Ryder thought, as he gave Tracker the signal to start the acceleration. Chapter 2, Military Shuttle en route to USS Gemini Spaceport. As the hatch closed on the shuttle, Cooper was feeling sad, but not so alone anymore. Even though the time with his grandfather was short and it was interrupted by the attack in the terminal, he would never forget it. Cooper thought that when his father died in his arms on Earth, he would never find anyone he could call family again. But then Ryder told him that Cooper's mom, Sarah, was his daughter. He now had a grandfather. Seeing his mom's face on the Wall of Heroes in the Space Museum helped solidify his resolve to succeed and become an astromechanical engineer like she once was. An astromechanical engineer was the person who fixed the spaceships from the outside of the ship, spending most of their time in a spacesuit. Glancing down at his leadership medal on his chest, he remembered that fateful moment when he was with his friends, Alwine and Childs. He wasn't sure when he would see them again, but they talked about trying to get together in the future. His thoughts were broken by the sound of the captain on the intercom. Attention! Please ensure your seatbelt is fastened tightly and your bag is secure under your seat. This space flight is bound for the USS Gemini. We are proceeding with the flight countdown and hope to take off in less than 10 minutes. Our trip should take about 14 hours and we will remain weightless for most of the journey. Thank you for flying Capricorn Space Lines today. The intercom turned off and Cooper noticed the other passengers around him. While the cruiser could carry 14 passengers, there were only 4 seats occupied beside his own. Unlike the supply ship he rode from Earth to the moon, this ship didn't seem to have a full kitchen or a place to walk around. He wasn't sure how he was going to get food, but he wasn't hungry at the moment anyway. Cooper was lost in thought when he heard the captain come on the intercom one more time and say, "Attention! The ship will be taking off in 30 seconds. We will notify you when it's safe to move around the cabin." Then Cooper felt the vibration in his seat and saw the lights change through the windows. The ship was moving slowly up and out of the Armstrong Moon Base terminal. It was a slow ascent. He didn't have a window seat, so he looked across a few seats to see through a small oval window nearby. The terminal looked about the same as it did when he arrived less than 3 months ago. When they were clear of the terminal, he felt another slight vibration and the stars in the window changed reference points. It appears they were changing direction, probably to face towards Gemini. Then he felt a much stronger force and he was pushed back into his soft plush seat. The acceleration only lasted for a minute or two. Then the pressure eased and he could turn his head. The moon seemed to be a distant memory, and he heard the chime from the intercom once more. "Attention! This is the captain speaking. I am turning off the seatbelt sign and you are free to move about the cabin. There are bathroom facilities to the front if needed. The monitor in front of you will provide you instructions on how to get some food or drink, if you would like. I will let you know when we must return to the seats for the deceleration procedure." Cooper hadn't noticed the monitor in the seat in front of him when he had first boarded, because it was the same color as the seat itself. But now he saw a small red button, which he pushed. The button turned to green and the screen came to life. A menu appeared with a variety of choices from food and drink to games and even movies to watch. He clicked through the food choices and realized he was indeed hungry. He settled on a beef stew meal with juice to drink. He noticed while scrolling through the list that some choices were complimentary, like the one he chose, while others cost additional credits. Without thinking about it, Cooper touched his breast pocket, which contained the 2 credit cards Ryder gave him back in the hotel room. One card contained a large sum of credits that Ryder gave him as a graduation present from basic training. The amount seemed almost obscene. However, Cooper was sure that Ryder was just spoiling him a little since they reconnected for the first time a few months ago. The other card looked like a regular credits card, but it was actually a special communication device Cooper could use to contact Ryder with a short text message in case of emergencies. With the recent terrorist attack on the supply ship at the moon base that he witnessed while eating with Ryder, Cooper was nervous for Ryder much more than for himself. An alert appeared on the screen indicating his food was ready in Cabinet 1 and he was to use code 431 to open it. He unbuckled his seat belt slowly and floated above the seat. He reached for the arm handles that were located on every seat and above him on the ceiling. Using the handles, Cooper moved deftly toward a row of small cabinets at the front. He noticed one of the other passengers was sleeping soundly against the window. The other two passengers were closer to the front. As he passed them, they both looked up for a moment, but then went back to their quiet conversation. He reached the front and pushed in the code for Cabinet 1. The door slid open and a small plastic box appeared. The box had a handle so that Cooper could carry it back to his seat while still maneuvering through zero gravity. He returned to his seat now and noticed someone was sitting next to him now. The man smiled as Cooper glided into his seat and put his seatbelt back on so he wouldn't float away. With a huge grin on his face, the man leaned over and helped Cooper pull out the tray to place his food box on. Then he said, a little too enthusiastically, "Hi, young private first class. My name is Rick Goodman." As he said this, he reached out his hand to shake. Cooper, taken aback a little by the forwardness of this man, hesitated for a moment and then took Rick's hand and shook it. Rick's hand engulfed Cooper's, and he shook it vigorously. "I see that you won the leadership award in basic training. Congratulations," Ryder said after releasing Cooper's hand. Out of instinct, Cooper touched the award with his hand, remembering the moment at the end of basic training when Drill Sergeant Voight called his name and he won the award. He was still so surprised by that honor. "Thank you, Rick. My name is Cooper," he replied. "That medal means that you have been given your choice of assignments. Are you headed to Gemini for advanced training?" Rick continued. He still hadn't wiped the broad grin from his face. "Yes," Cooper replied slowly. His orders weren't a secret, but he didn't see any reason to give up any information to this unknown stranger yet. Let me guess. If I'm reading your name tag correctly, you are Cooper Richardson, son of the famous Sarah Richardson. So I bet you are headed to Gemini for training in astromechanical engineering with the great First Sergeant Bolts. Am I close?" Rick said, beaming from eye to eye. "That is correct," Cooper responded, stuttering a little at how much this man knew of him already. "Ha ha ha! I knew it. You have her eyes. I didn't know her personally, but the stories about her are legendary, and the fact that she saved the Voyager so that it could make the trek to Sperrier just makes her legacy all the more legendary." Who are you?" Cooper asked, wanting to know more about this man. "I told you, Cooper. I am Rick Goodman. I am the best salesman in space. It is my job to know everything and everyone who moves between the planets," Rick said, chuckling loudly at his own joke. Then in a whisper he said, "Don't tell anyone. But the best way to make a sale to someone is to know everything about them so that you can anticipate their needs and wants. Then you can sell them what they need even before they ask for it." Again, Rick broke out in another huge laugh. Cooper couldn't help but laugh a little at it, a little as well. This man was such an enthusiastic person. He was balding a little bit on top with his short grayish white hair. Cooper saw pictures of Santa Claus on the terminal when he was younger, and Rick reminded a little bit of what he might look like in real life. However, Cooper wasn't sure if his friendliness was genuine. It was hard to read. As Cooper opened the beef stew packet to eat, he turned to Rick and asked, "So, what is it you sell?" "That is the thing, Cooper," Rick leaned in again to whisper. "I can sell anything to anybody." He leaned back again with another huge laugh as Cooper tasted the beef stew. It wasn't bad, a little salty, but it did appear to have real beef in it. Cooper asked, "Have you been to Gemini before? Do you know First Sergeant Bolts?" Great questions. By chance, I have been to Gemini many times. It was one of my it has one of my favorite restaurants in space, the Firefly. Make sure you go there sometime. It's a great way to impress the ladies. So take a date with you. Again, another burst of laughter from Rick. Cooper didn't find it so funny, though, since one of his biggest struggles was talking to girls. His friend Greg, back in New Denver, would always try to set him up with the girls in the school's common room, but Cooper was so shy around women, he just couldn't get any words out. So he doubted he would be taking any young ladies to the Firefly anytime soon. But Gemini is out there, being even further away from the Earth than it is to the moon. It's pretty remote. The one good thing is that you meet many travelers from far away places, like the asteroid belt, and most of them are looking for something to buy, whether it be spare parts, exotic foods, or even medication. I do a lot of business on Gemini. Rick's smile turned to seriousness. Now, First Sergeant Bolts. He's a tough one. He always wants to get his supplies from the military channels. He wants to use the proper procedures to acquire his parts, and he doesn't want to make me his exclusive sales rep. Rick was looking directly at Cooper now. Cooper was starting to put the pieces together. But Cooper, Rick leaned in close and looked right into Cooper's eyes. You will be working for Bolts. You will have his ear. How about you put in a good word for old Rick? You help me get better access to Bolts, and I can get you just about whatever you want. You know the old saying, you scratch my back and I scratch yours. Working together, we could earn each other a lot of credits. Rick patted him on the arm and then burst into laughter once more. Cooper wasn't sure what to say. It sounded like Rick was wanting to pay him to encourage Bolts to only buy from him. It made sense as Bolts ran the motor pool that repaired all the spaceships coming in from the outer planets. If Rick could have an exclusive deal, he would make a fortune on all those purchases, and Rick would make it worth his while. This made Cooper feel uncomfortable. He didn't have to think twice about it. He was not that type of person. He knew that what Rick was suggesting would be illegal, and he also didn't want to make any enemies. He decided just to be non-committal about the whole thing. Thank you, Rick, for the information. Since I haven't worked for First Sergeant Bolts before, I don't think I could just go right in and suggest that we put all deals through you. Cooper started and was then cut off by Rick. "Oh, no, no, of course not, Cooper," Rick said with a lot of flair and hand gestures. "I would never think of having you do this on your first day. Just, keep this in the back of your mind for now." As Rick said this, he started to get up from his seat. "We will talk again in a few weeks. Once you've settled in, I will reach out to you in the future. Great meeting you. Oh, here, take this little drive in case you do get a chance to meet with Bolts." And with that last word, Rick waved, turned, and returned to his seat in the back. Cooper held the drive in his hand for a moment, not sure if he just wanted to leave it, but he decided he would hold on to it for now. Cooper frowned for a moment and then returned to his now cold beef stew. It turned out he wasn't really that hungry after all. He took a couple more bites and then sealed up the container. He did finish the fruit juice, which tasted vaguely like cherry. Then he put the trash away in the receptacle located on the side of his seat, reclined the back, and closed his eyes. His conversation with Rick bothered him a little. He wondered how many other salespeople bribed people to get their items sold in space. It is good to hear that First Sergeant Bolts plays by the rules, Cooper thought. Rick made him feel uneasy. He hoped he never had to see him again, but in the back of his mind, he knew this wouldn't be his last encounter. His mind cleared for the moment, and he realized that he was very tired and soon fell asleep.